Implementing the observer pattern is super easy. First, we need to introduce the observer interface. So let's add a new interface called observer. Here we need a single method called update. Now we should have the spreadsheet and chart classes implement this interface. So here's our spreadsheet. It should implement the observer interface. Now, in this implementation, we're going to print a message like spreadsheet got notified. Similarly, in the chart class, let's implement the observer interface. Here we want to print a different message. Chart got updated. Now, in this implementation, we don't have a mechanism for seeing the data that is changed. We'll talk about that in the next lesson. For now, I just want to show you how one object can notify other objects. We'll talk about passing data or passing the changes in the next video. So these two classes implement the observer interface. Now let's introduce a new class called subject. Some people call this class observable. It's an object that we can observe. In the classic Django 4 book, it's called a subject. Here we need three methods: add observer, remove observer, and notify observers. So public void add observer. We give it an observer object. Here's the other method, remove observer. Once again, we give it an observer object. And finally, notify observers. Now here we need a field to maintain these observers. So private, we can use a list of observers. Let's import the list interface. We call this field observers and set it to a new array list. Now, in the add observer method, we simply call observers.add this observer. In the remove observer method, we call observers.remove this observer. And finally, in the notify observers method, we iterate over the list of observers. And for each observer, we call the update method. That is the implementation of our subject. Super simple. Finally, we need to have the data source class extend the subject class. So here we type extends subject. Now this class inherits all the capability for becoming a publisher or an observable object. And here's the last step. In the set value method, after setting the value of this field, we need to call the notify observers method that we have inherited from the subject class. Now let's bring all of this together. So we go to our main method. First, we create a data source object, new data source. Then we create a couple of sheets. So here's sheet 1. We set it to a new spreadsheet. Let's duplicate this and rename this variable to sheet 2. And finally, we create a chart. Next, we need to tell this data source to register these objects as observers. So data source.add observer, we pass sheet 1, then sheet 2, and finally chart. Now, when we call data source.set value, all these objects get notified. Take a look. So run the program. Our two spreadsheets, as well as the chart, got updated. Now, at this point, these objects don't know the new value of the data source. We'll talk about passing the value in the next video.